Tonight, the global political order may be shifting right before our eyes, and Donald Trump is at the center of the storm. While Trump continues escalating trade wars, threatening allies, and pushing an increasingly isolationist agenda, something extraordinary is happening overseas. Countries around the world are beginning to look somewhere else for leadership. And according to a series of remarkable speeches and interviews from Canadian leaders, that somewhere else is now Canada, what we're witnessing is bigger than a single trade dispute, bigger than tariffs, bigger than another Trump headline. This is about trust, stability, predictability, and whether America under Donald Trump can still be seen as the anchor of the democratic world. As Trump doubles down on economic threats and political chaos, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is making a direct appeal to the international community. If you want a reliable partner, Canada is ready to lead. And honestly, the timing could not be worse for Trump. After attending the European Political Community Forum in Armenia, Carney stood before reporters and world leaders and delivered what many are now calling a defining message of this political era. He said countries facing global uncertainty must choose whether to retreat inward or build stronger partnerships together. Canada, he argued, is choosing to build. That line matters because it was more than diplomacy, it was a direct contrast with Trumpism itself. Trump's political movement has centered around tariffs, confrontation, nationalism, and punishing allies economically. But Carney is presenting Canada as the exact opposite. Open markets, stable alliances, long-term investment, and democratic cooperation. And global leaders appear to be responding. In fact, one of the biggest developments from this summit barely got attention in American media. AirAsia announced a major investment in Canada with plans to purchase 150 Airbus, a 220 aircraft, a deal that could create thousands of jobs in Quebec and massively strengthen Canada's aerospace sector. Think about the symbolism there. At a moment when Trump is telling companies to bring manufacturing back to America, one of the world's major airlines is instead deepening its economic relationship with Canada. That is not just business news. That is geopolitical messaging. And Carney leaned directly into it, proudly highlighting that Canada is now attracting foreign direct investment at twice the rate of the United States when adjusted for population size. Twice the rate. That statistic alone completely undermines Trump's repeated claim that global investors only trust America. According to Canadian officials, international companies increasingly see Canada as safer, steadier, and easier to work with than Trump's America. And honestly, when you look at the chaos surrounding Trump's trade policy, you can understand why businesses hate uncertainty. Investors hate unpredictability. And under Trump, unpredictability has become the defining feature of American economic policy. One day tariffs are threatened, the next day they're paused, then doubled, then redirected toward allies, then partially reversed after market backlash. Even countries that believed they had secured agreements with Trump suddenly found themselves targeted anyway. That's exactly what Canada's Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne warned about in his remarkable interview discussing Europe's growing alignment with Canada. And what he revealed was honestly stunning. Champagne explained that European finance ministers specifically invited Canada into major economic discussions because they wanted what he called a transatlantic voice at the table, not the United States, Canada. That is a huge diplomatic signal. He even described entering meetings expecting to sit quietly as the newest participant, only to be told that European leaders wanted Canada to speak first because they viewed Canada as representing democratic stability and shared values during an increasingly dangerous global moment. That should alarm Trump allies tremendously, because for decades, America occupied that role automatically. America was the first voice allies wanted to hear. America was the center of the democratic alliance system. Now, according to Canadian officials, world leaders increasingly see Canada as the calmer and more dependable partner. And there's another reason this matters politically. Trump has spent years attacking allies while praising authoritarian leaders. He's repeatedly undermined NATO relationships, threatened trading partners, and portrayed traditional alliances as weaknesses instead of strengths. But Canada is now using those exact alliances to elevate its global influence. Champagne emphasized that countries around the world are eager to work with Canada because Canada still believes in multilateral institutions, democratic cooperation, and long-term partnerships. And then came one of the most powerful moments of the entire speech. Champagne declared that he had never been more confident in Canada and described the country as a source of inspiration during a time when uncertainty is spreading across the globe. That wasn't just patriotism, it was a statement of ambition. Canadian leaders genuinely believe this moment of global instability is creating an opportunity for Canada to emerge as one of the most influential economies in the democratic world. And when you hear their argument, it's actually difficult to dismiss. Canada possesses enormous reserves of critical minerals essential for modern technology and clean energy production. Canada remains one of the few G7 nations capable of producing airplanes, cars, and ships domestically from start to finish. Canada also has vast energy resources spanning oil, renewables, and nuclear technology. And perhaps most importantly, Canada has free trade access with every other G7 country, giving it preferential access to roughly 1.5 billion consumers worldwide. That's enormous, especially at a time when Trump's tariffs are straining relationships with major allies. Then Champagne said something that may end up defining this entire geopolitical shift. He called this a once-in-a-generation opportunity for Canada, an opportunity to position itself as the stable democratic alternative while the United States struggles through political chaos and economic volatility. And honestly, there's another layer here that many Americans may not fully appreciate. Canada's messaging right now is deeply emotional. They are not simply talking about economic growth. They are saying the world is craving stability, predictability, reliability, and trust. And implicitly, they are arguing that Trump's America no longer provides those things consistently. That is a devastating indictment coming from one of America's closest allies. Meanwhile, Carney continued emphasizing that Canada intends to protect workers and industries from Trump's tariffs while continuing to negotiate what he called the right deal for Canadian interests. Again, notice the contrast. Trump's style is immediate confrontation. Canada's style is strategic patience. And global investors appear to prefer the second approach. Now, to be fair, Canadian officials also admitted the country is not immune from global instability. Rising housing costs, inflation pressures, energy concerns, and international conflicts still affect Canada heavily. But even there, Canadian leaders framed the issue differently. Instead of portraying the world as collapsing, they argued Canada has the fiscal strength and political stability necessary to weather the storm better than most major economies. Champagne even cited IMF assessments suggesting Canada maintains one of the strongest fiscal positions in the G7 alongside Germany. Then came another memorable phrase. He called Canada a lighthouse during an uncertain global moment. A lighthouse. That imagery is powerful because it suggests guidance, safety, and direction while other countries struggle through turbulence. And whether Americans want to admit it or not, many international observers increasingly see the United States as one of the sources of that turbulence, especially under Trump. Now, add one more major detail to this story. Canada also announced hundreds of millions of dollars in additional support for Ukraine, reaffirming its commitment to democratic allies resisting authoritarian aggression. Again, compare that to the divisions and controversies surrounding Trump's approach to Ukraine and NATO. The contrast could not be sharper. Canada is presenting itself as the dependable democratic ally willing to stand shoulder to shoulder with partners around the world. And if you step back for a moment, you can see the broader picture forming. This is no longer simply about Canada versus the United States. This is about competing visions for the future of the democratic world. One vision is rooted in alliances, cooperation, stability, and multilateral leadership. The other is rooted in economic nationalism, confrontation, tariffs, and unpredictability. And right now, many world leaders appear increasingly nervous about the second option. That may ultimately become one of the defining international consequences of Trump's political movement, not just polarization inside America, but a gradual weakening of America's moral and diplomatic leadership abroad. And if Canada continues successfully positioning itself as the safe alternative, that shift could accelerate dramatically over the next several years. So the real question now is this: are we watching a temporary diplomatic moment, or are we witnessing the beginning of a major realignment in global leadership as allies lose confidence in Trump's America and begin turning toward countries like Canada instead? Because based on these speeches, Canada clearly believes its moment has arrived. And honestly, the world may be starting to agree. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest political coverage and breaking news analysis. And tell me what you think in the comments below. Is Canada truly emerging as a global democratic leader while Trump pushes America into deeper uncertainty? Or is this just political messaging designed to capitalize on America's chaos right now? See you tomorrow.